why does everything come in my eyesight and my vision, like a hurt animal or someone I want to save? Whenever I rescue, I don't rescue to show, I rescue from my heart.
When you see a case which you think is way beyond your expertise, God finds you the help that you need to cater.
Yeah, like you.
What was your first rescue story? What was the first time you felt that, I need to go above and beyond?
I was taking a walk in my colony where I stay, and I saw this cat. He had squamous cell carcinoma. It's a skin cancer, and your skin just keeps peeling off, full bleeding the whole time. I got him picked up that time. I joined all these animal welfare groups on WhatsApp. I got 2 people on board to help me. Along with their help, we put him into a foster, and that's where my journey began. I even visited human cancer doctors.
We need more people like you in the society. I've seen two kinds of people. One are into animals, they like animals, they will do all the good work for them.
John Abraham, he advocates animal welfare and cruelty against animals, and he speaks about it openly up front.
Yeah.
He's doing so much about it. We need more people like him.
John is actively involved.
That's so amazing that he's doing this. Like, he's using his power for the right.
If I get a penny for every time I say I'm John's fan, I'll be a billionaire. I spoke to John a couple of times. Super humble guy. I'm just a fan.
Has his values in his right place. Somebody pokes you a little bit. I cry and I send a picture to my mom that, see, I got hurt, it's bleeding this much. Imagine you're putting a knife through somebody's. How much can you? Tell me one thing, isn't it the most basic humanity to not kill another living being just because they can't speak for themselves and they don't have laws?
Laws is something that comes up on every podcast. Everybody comes and says, do the laws, do the laws.
Even humans don't care about humans nowadays. What are they going to care about animals without any
Exactly.
laws?
We say we are cow lovers and Gauraksha and all of this, and then we are second largest meat exporters in the world.
I'm so shocked at how people desensitize animals and the behavior towards animals. I was on the way home once, it was 4 a.m. and I've seen somebody run over a cat and just drive off. In the end, I took her to the vet, but she passed away, unfortunately. That's just terrible.
So, Khush, thank you for coming. We are finally doing it. We've been discussing this to do it for a while. I'm happy that we connected on a cause that is very near to both of us. That's how we met. That's how we started discussing. And I think Priya connected me to you when there was a rescue. But before we get to all of that, I want you to quite quickly introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, so I'm Khush. I'm a model, singer, and I'm currently pursuing acting. And apart from that, I do a lot of rescues because that's like my passion. Like, that just comes through my heart. And that's how we met.
Yeah.
And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful way of meeting somebody.
Yeah. And I remember there was a dog somewhere in, I think, in town.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when I sent an ambulance and that's how it. So how did you meet Priya? I think Priya connected me to you. Was it again for a rescue?
Yeah, it was a rescue. I had been contacting her directly. And then she told me that you will be very instrumental.
Yeah.
And that's so true because every time I've called you, you've just been like at it.
Yeah.
You just helped me in one instant, and that's amazing.
So I came in touch with Yoda again because of a rescue. A while back, I reached out to Priya about a dog that needed help in my area. And then couple of years ago, I saw Priya posted for a CEO's position because obviously, look, you know about what all she does. So, and I was like, this is like a perfect job for me. Like, I was working at a corporate, I was very drained and I was like, I've had my kick out of the success that I wanted out of the corporate, but after a point, you don't get that kick, right? So I wanted to kind of switch careers and get into something more meaningful. And then I got in touch with Priya and then we worked it out and I was like, okay, I don't mind leading an NGO for babies. And it's more of, a satisfaction that I get when I go home and I'm like, okay, at least I've solved a problem today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
feel that too. I feel like it's our duty to, at least for me, I feel like if I see an animal on the road who's not keeping well or who's met with an accident, it's like my duty to pick him up.
yeah.
Like, I can't wait for somebody else to do that.
And no, there is one thing to love animals, and what I've seen particularly about you, you stayed awake to make sure that the ambulance guy comes, the dog reaches or the cat reaches the hospital. You have your driver,
So once I take that responsibility, I have to make sure that it's all good.
and you'll follow up next day. Your driver is always on the round for rescuing these babies. So and so have. But we need more people like you in the society. What do you have to tell to people who have the money and the power and the reach, but they don't just kind of do it right?
I think that there are a lot of people who even where I stay, so they even stop me from feeding. Like, they don't stop me, but they give me a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So I feel like you can be pretty neutral to it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to help. I would suggest please help.
Yeah.
Because these animals, they can't talk, right? They're voiceless. So if we want to go to a doctor, it's very easy for us to just like pick up the phone and take an appointment and go.
Yeah.
They don't have the money, the means, they can't talk. So I think if we can't help them, at least be neutral and let the people who are helping, do their bit.
Yeah, fair. And also, if you don't help, then imagine what will happen. They'll be hungry. They'll get more aggressive. How will you manage all this? And there are feeders and people like you who neuter them, sterilize them in your areas. If you go absent from the community, I don't think anybody else is doing their job for.
That exactly. I think there should be more people doing
Yeah.
that. I think it should be like coexisting.
Yeah.
It can't be fighting with the voiceless just because they can't talk back.
Yeah, and we kind of wherever humans go, they make the space. So, like somebody was telling me the other day, there was an incident about monkeys attacking a child somewhere in Himachal Pradesh. There is a tourist spot, and it's a religious spot as well. And somebody just was covering and saying that because so many humans are multiplying in that area, the monkeys are feeling threatened. So wherever we go, we are causing that harm to the community.
Yeah, because we're like building the buildings, right?
Yeah,
We're restructuring, we're taking over the forests.
yeah.
So it's our duty to like make sure even they're happy,
Yeah.
they're like fulfilled.
How did you get into this? What was your first rescue story? What was the first time you felt that, I need to go above and beyond?
So I have been rescuing as in I've been treating any sick animal or cat since years. But around 3.5 years ago, I was taking a walk in my colony where I stay, and I saw this cat. He had like he had like squamous cell carcinoma. It's a skin cancer, and your skin just keeps peeling off,
Yeah.
and especially for white cats. So it's full bleeding the whole time. So I picked him up, as in I got him picked up that time, and I didn't know what to do. So I joined all these animal welfare groups on WhatsApp. Like, I went all out. When I have to go, I'll call 100 people, I'll harrow them, I'll make sure, my work is done.
Yeah.
So I'm calling up people, making them add me. I got two people on board to help me, one from a foundation and another also. She's a lot into these rescues. So, along with their help, we put him into a foster, and that's where my journey began because that was the time I stayed up day in, night out. I was just like looking for cancer doctors.
Hmm.
I found these vets. I even visited human cancer doctors because I was like, I need to get this guy all right.
Yeah.
Because what the doctor said, she said that we'll do his surgery where his skin will be cut from here and grafted onto parts of his face. So he'll be blind. But a month later, she said that now the cancer's grown too much. Now we can't do the surgery. So I went mad. I said, no, I have to do something. I have to fight for him. So I went to each and every doctor. I'm researching on Google how to get him all right. Finally, like, I did everything.
Yeah.
I gave him all the CBD oils, whatever I could do, all the syrups.
No wonder I was amazed at the amount of knowledge you had when we were talking about this cat that you admitted in VetTech, and when we were talking to the vets. I know this because I've been in the zone and I know how vets talk and what are the technical languages. And when she was talking, you were able to figure out what she's saying. And I was like, how does she know so much? So like, does she run an NGO herself? So, but now it makes sense. I think you like to go deep into the subject.
I go personally to the vet.
Yeah.
Although now, since I've increased the number of rescues,
Yeah.
I'm doing it over the phone.
Which is also great because, nobody gives that much time to a rescue.
Daily, my foster people give me updates. Then
Yeah.
yeah. And if it's critical, I go to the vet.
I'm saying start an NGO now. I think that's the only thing left for you to start. Because I get a lot of people, like, I get a lot of calls from people who are our friends. They see an animal in distress and they call us and we help them out. But, I don't expect them to follow up. I don't expect them to know what happened because they did their job by reporting. They would even pay for the initial care, like the ambulance and all of that. And that's more than enough. But you keep a check on a dog or a cat until they are released back into their community, which is very amazing. Um, Coming back to your career, you are a model, you are a singer, you sing beautifully, you've done great projects. Why don't you get more into that? So tell us more. How did it start? What was the aim when you were growing up?
So, actually, 2.5 years ago, I got hit on my eye. I got hurt by somebody's elbow,
Wow.
and part of my cornea got scraped off. So, I couldn't see. Like, I had a number of 3.5. For 3 months, I couldn't see. So, I had to stop all my shoots because the doctor said you can't do makeup around your eyes, and that's most important. And, I realized one thing when you're going out and talking to people, you need to see to hear them. You can't hear them by just your ear.
Yeah.
So that point, I started singing, and recording voice notes. And then Himesh sir, he heard my voice and he really liked it.
Yeah.
So what he did was he wrote a song for me. He said that I had a voice like Nazia Hassan, and he created a song called Sara Zamana, like he composed it. And then it was, I think, about a year later that I got launched by him, and that's where I started my singing
It was
career.
this recent. I thought you've been singing for a while.
No, very recently.
Very nice. And when did your acting modeling career start?
See, I was working at Deloitte actually at first. And while I was working at Deloitte, I used to get phone calls for shoots in Mud Island and all. So I used to bunk my work. I used to call in sick and go for shoots. So when I went on to set, I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it. But I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
So somebody suggested that I get into assistant direction because he was also a director. So that point I said, okay, like, why not? You know, I was like young, and I mean, I'm still young, but that one was really young.
You were a
Like,
kid back then. Right?
yeah, I didn't know. Like, so then I AD'd on like a few Bollywood films.
Okay.
I AD'd on Batla House and Dream Girl. And there was another movie called Squad. Then I realized, okay, now I can't do this behind the camera anymore. I need to be in front. Then I got into singing. I continued my modeling shoots. I also started podcasts in the middle based on wellness. And now I'm pursuing acting.
Yeah. I've been following your work. Natural, first of all, and when you do these music albums and music videos. First of all, I like Himesh's work. I've been a fan ever since he's been doing that, for ages now, and he's doing it flawlessly. Um, but I think you're well fitted for this, pop actor kind of a category because it's very new in India. I don't think anybody is like a pop star yet. Like we don't have the Taylor Swifts in India. Yeah, we don't have that. I think you fit that will rightly so. Any plans on that front? Any plans on see you have to sell yourself all the time, right? So are you pursuing that area of field at all now?
So, as of now, I am planning to, but let's see. There are a few things in the pipeline.
Great. I'm excited. How was your childhood like? Who are in the family? Tell me more about it.
So, childhood is like me, mom, dad. I have a lot of cousins, mom and dad side.
Hmm. But brought up in Mumbai though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mumbai only, yeah, forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, then when I was 10, like my dad passed away. And then it's just been me and mom at home. And then my cat. And then I have family all over, like in Alvairi, and I have family in New Jersey.
But you're a sober girl.
Yeah, I'm a sober girl, but I will shift this side someday.
Your heart is Andheri though.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about Andheri so much. Yeah. Uh, So again, I feel about industry in particular. I've seen two kinds of people. One are into animals. They like animals. They will do all the good work for them. Like a lot of people I meet, they sterilize, vaccinate the entire studios and the places where they are. And then there are this couple of people that I prominently know of. They're, they're very against people who like animals. Uh, I just don't understand the math. If you are in industry, which means you're liberal, you're like left leaning, you are more, progressive in nature. You should not be of the thought process that animals are bad for society.
Yeah.
How is that happening, and what do you do when you see that those people around?
So I agree with you, first of all. That's a very good point. For example, John Abraham, he advocates like animal welfare and cruelty against animals is, like the worst thing. And he speaks about it openly up front.
Yeah,
He's doing so much about it. We need more people like him. Because when you have the power, the resources, then nothing's stopping you, right?
yeah,
How much nobody can hate on him right now for doing it.
yeah,
So I think you should use that power for the good.
yeah.
Because animals, they will do nothing, like they don't have one bad thought in their mind. It's just pure intentions, pure love, and that's it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to, use your power against animals, then I'm sorry to say, but that says a lot about you as a
Yeah.
human being.
True.
Because if you can take care of an animal who cannot speak and cannot give you anything in return, then that's the best karma, and then that speaks volumes about your character.
Yeah, and you should use your platform People ask us at Yoda, how do we support you? I said, you don't always need to have money to support
Yeah.
an NGO. You use your reach, you use your knowledge, you use your skill set in whatever way. If a student, if a kid is good at graphics, you help us in that field.
Yeah.
If somebody has good platform, social media availability, use our conversations and push it there. Like, you don't have to have money all the time.
Yeah.
When this all Supreme Court thing happened, right, I was just observing very closely about some of the biggest podcasters in the country. And I was amazed. I was shocked to see that nobody covered this topic properly. A couple of them did in a very superficial way, and all of them have pets. Like, you look at the audience, I mean, if there is a conversation where people are blinded and given the wrong narrative, why would you not push a right narrative out, saying that, guys, this is wrong?
So I think that just having pets doesn't mean you're an animal lover, because a lot of people have pets, but they want to breed, they want to buy dogs. So it's not the same thing. They don't love, they just love the idea of a good looking, entertaining animal,
Yeah.
which of course everyone's not aware, right? So that's why it's our duty to make them aware.
What do you have to say? Correct, good point. I think I also feel that we are obsessed with breeds.
Yeah.
Like, especially in our society,
Yeah.
especially the HNIs of Mumbai, people who are well-to-do. What is this crazy obsession about breeds? What is this one-up culture about, no, my breed is better, my dog is 3 lakh rupees, your dog is 2 lakh rupees. Literally, people talk about this.
Commodity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are people talking about it at parties.
Yeah. That's terrible.
How do you think we can stop this? Because Indies are beautiful. They're amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, in fact, I go around advocating like adoption as much as possible. I've changed so many of my friends' minds, against buying dogs. And I tell them, please tell me if you want to adopt a dog or a cat, be it a breed also, because a lot of breeds are available for adoption.
True, true.
So you don't have to buy it.
Do you get judged in society when you're in parties that you're meeting friends? I'm sure there are a lot of people relate to us. They understand why we feel this way. Most of my friends do. There are a couple of people who will always say, like, I don't relate to this guy. Does it happen to you?
It happens to me. In fact, I'm so shocked at how people desensitize animals and the behavior towards animals. So I'm a vegetarian. That's a different topic altogether. But even just a normal animal, I've seen people just drive by if they see an animal who's hurt. Just imagine, like, I was on the way home once. It was 4 a.m. and I've seen somebody run over a cat and just drive off.
Oh, God.
It's so shocking. That poor baby has nobody, nothing. She can't get up. In the end, I took her to the vet, but she passed away, unfortunately. But at least pick the animal up. Otherwise, wait for more people to drive over. That's just terrible, right?
Exactly. I'm writing a book about the pain. So the book is titled Pause in Pain. It largely covers the state of struggle our animals in, in India at least. And I was just defining one incident where I rescued. It was 10 years ago, right? One of my first rescues. I was walking by a street on a Sunday evening, Andheri, that Oshiwara market,
Yeah.
right? It's a very busy street, but when you go straight, there is this one area which is very dark and not much shops there, not many people there. I was just walking past and I saw a dog lying on the side of the road. When I was just coming closer to that, it seemed like a black bag, like, the garbage bags.
Yeah.
It seemed like that. But when I came closer, it seemed like something is moving.
Oh my God.
And then when I got closer to that thing, it was a dog lying in a very weird position.
Mm.
When I came closer, I realized that dog had distemper. And in distemper, one of the symptoms is you get paralyzed behind the waist. So that guy's body was in a different direction because of the paralysis that in the final stage of distemper happens. Now, it was my first rescue. I had a dog, but I didn't know what was distemper. So I picked up the dog and I brought the dog near my building. It was like 5 minutes walk from my building. Couple of hours I tried to find a hospital. I would take my dog to Swali in Andheri. But that was Sunday evening and it was 9:30, so Swali was not open. I called a lot of people. We didn't find any help. That's how I got in touch with Priya in the first place.
Okay.
And so, but even car wasn't open then. So I took the dog to SPCA. The dog didn't make the night. But and then when I went back next day to just understand what had happened. So there was the Spanwala, thoda diagonally. He said, I saw that dog being there since last 2 days. I said, why didn't you help? I said, sir, हमको कुछ पता ही नहीं क्या करना है. हम क्या कर लेते? And then I started dissecting that in my mind. Imagine the dog was lying there because he couldn't move for 2 days without food, without anything. He would be seeing so many humans passing by and just saying, यार या तो मेरे को जिंदा रखो और ठीक करो या तो मुझे मार दो. That is what he would be wishing, right? Either you kill that poor guy and give him the peace, or you pick him up and do something about it. So that's the state of animals in the country. And then when we try to rescue, we have a set of audience who will say, why are you doing it?
Yeah, leave him.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on all this? Yeah, have you come across these situations?
So actually, there have been months in a row where I've left my career part, my social life, and I've only been taking care of, say, one cat. One cat, he had kidney disease last year. So for few months, I was taking care of her. I was taking him to the vet every day. He needed saline like Sabakat twice a day, IV once a day. I was making sure that happens. And sometimes what happens is the morning Sabkat guy cannot come, so I have to call 10 more people. As easy as it sounds, the coordination is very difficult.
Yeah.
And then I was syringe feeding him. I've cleaned his poop. So I've done a lot of that. And my friends have told me, are you insane? Like, why are you doing this? You concentrate on building your career. I said that poor cat has nobody. If I don't do it, nobody.
Nobody will do it. Yeah, that's how we do it.
And I was so, right now, I'm still a little, I can't say detached, but I'm not that attached to my rescues right now because I cannot be. But I have too many. But back then, when I had only one,
Hmm.
I used to literally take him to the vet and I have to hold him. I have to make sure in the car on the way also he's feeling fine. He's not scared. Every second I'm taking care of him. It's like that closeness.
Yeah.
So a lot of my friends told me, forget all this, why you doing this? Why you feeding them? I said, you don't want to do it, you don't do it, but
Yeah.
don't stop me.
No, but once you see it, you can't unsee. Well, that's with me also. That once you see a life in pain, you have to do something about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't say it's guilt management, because a lot of people rescue from sheer feeling that I will feel guilty. But I don't think that is that. I think it's more about the responsibility that I think nobody else is sharing with me. If I see enough people around me who are doing the same thing that I do, then probably my intensity to rescue that might not be as high, because I know there's somebody else sitting there.
Yeah.
But right now, I think I relate to what you say. If you don't do it, there are barely anybody.
Like that day, even when I called you, Cookie, you went to Vetic, you rushed in you're like, in half an hour, I'm reaching.
Yeah.
Make sure she's admitted correctly. And I had nobody. It was an emergency. And that is so great.
No, because again, same thing. The guys, I saw you in distress, and I could understand why. And our guys couldn't reach. My Bandra guys couldn't reach, and I was like 5 minutes away. I was at a friend's place. I said I'll get there because it's doable. But yeah, but again, coming back to this whole thing, what do you have to say to people? How do you gather support now? Let's talk to community and say, how do we come together? Because we are very divided. Every time I want to, do something good for the animals, everybody has a different way of doing it, which is fine.
Yeah.
But in doing so, don't you think we as animal welfare people are becoming a bit divided and saying, I will do my own bit, you do your own bit. Why can't we be together?
No, I really disagree with that because what we should do is we should do what's best for the animal.
Yeah.
Remember there was one rescue that we spoke about, and that guy was insistent that he'll only
Yeah.
admit somewhere else.
Yeah.
I said that it's not about your rescue or my rescue or Dheeraj's rescue.
Yeah.
It's what the animal needs. So I think that's one thing that's really important that we need to keep in mind, and awareness. So I used to never post about my rescues. Recently, I started posting a lot because whenever I rescue, I don't rescue to show, I rescue from my heart. But with posting, that awareness really builds.
Yeah.
So, a lot of my friends, in fact, the other day, one of my friends told me that he saw a cat who was fractured in his building, and ideally, he would never have done anything about it. But after he met me, he's picked up that cat and taken him to the vet.
Wow.
And I've started
But this is good then.
that
Do more of it.
yeah, word of mouth, posting. I don't care only. I made an account called Fluffy Rescues, which is also like an adoption account.
Okay.
But I post from my page. Like I just don't care. People have unput me for it.
That happens. I have seen that happening. I think I barely have any audience, but those who have been on the podcast, like especially Aishwarya, I don't know if you know her, she's a TV actor. She was on a podcast and she said, the day when I started posting actively about this whole protest that was happening in August, I lost 50,000 followers overnight. I said, wow, like this is crazy. So yeah, let's talk about thoda fun stuff. You're very active in the party circles. I see how fun you are. I would want to, like, if I have to imagine, my group is very small, and I'm very particular about who I hang out with, because we are we are crazy when we party, right? And it's important to do it with the right people. So when I see you posting, I'm like, this is the vibe I want to be at. Most of the time, I think I've reacted also. How does that fit into the life where you're rescuing animals? Yeah, tell me more about it.
So basically, first of all, I'll just clarify this one thing. A lot of people see my Instagram and think that I'm very active in the party circle. Uh, to an extent, it's true because in this industry, like you have to go out there, show your face. So even on days when I'm feeling low or tired from work, but I will get ready. I will go out for those 2 hours. I will show my face. I will make those connects because if I sit at home, I'm not gonna get the work.
Yeah.
Right. So even for example, for Diwali, I went out on 4 days. Even though I was tired, but I'll go out. Not necessarily have to party, but I'll come back home after I've like done my bit, taken my pictures,
Yeah.
posted. Yeah. And in the rescue circle, actually, so whenever my friends are with me, even if we go out for dinner, there have been times when I've seen a kitten. I was at Arbab once, I saw the small kitten meowing, and she was in distress because you come to know
Yeah.
if they're meowing out of distress or abandonment. And I went out, my friends went out for a smoke. So I went out, I saw. I canceled the dinner 10 minutes after reaching, means they carried on. I have at midnight, like 12 a.m., taken the help of the cab drivers and all to catch her first. She was so small.
Yeah.
I've put her in a box and I've taken her to the, have called 10 fosters, have taken her to a foster. So I I mean, the only way is if somebody's not willing to do it with you, you have to do it alone.
Yeah. Have you thought of opening a foster for yourself?
As a
Like, you're spending enough money to foster these babies, might as well rent a place and keep a couple of staff members.
So right now, me and a friend of mine were like doing this on our own because out of love. At first, it was me alone for a few years. Then one of my friends came in because he said that, like he also fell for the cause. So right now, I'm not thought of opening an NGO, but in the near future, maybe a few years down the line, with your help.
Let us know. So, now I want to talk more about your musical work. Amazing work you've done there, music videos and the things that you've been doing. Tell us more about this. What's happening now? What kind of projects you're looking at?
So, in terms of music, last year I was very much into it in the sense for like a year straight, every day I was going to the studio recording. I was making music, so I was composing the tune, the lyrics, everything. And it's like creativity at its peak,
Mm.
right? Then, right now, I've been pretty blocked as to the creative side. But in terms of recordings, yeah, I've been doing those. I haven't put out anything yet because I'm also concentrating on my shoots. And what happens is that I get into a creative zone. So if I'm concentrating on my shoots, then for that time I'm focused there. And then the singing goes on the side. And then when I get back to singing, it's like just that. So right now the singing is a little here and there.
Yeah. But anything coming up recently, in near future?
Uh, as of now, it's still in the works. It'll take some time. Yeah, it'll take maybe a few months.
And tell me more about Himesh. How is he in person?
He's really nice, very humble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
very.
how did you meet him? About that, the same thing that you. How did he find you?
As in via
Okay.
through and through. I know I have a lot of mutuals.
Yeah. He's
So-
also in Andheri, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now let me just sort of go deeper into your. I remember you mentioned that you are also in spirituality. I want to understand what ways are you involved. What is it that you do? What are your belief systems?
So I think spirituality is very subjective. Everybody has their own take on it. Like for example, yesterday I met somebody who's into Buddhism since 10 years. So that's one aspect. Some people say they follow Guruji. Even I follow Guruji to an extent. My journey into spirituality began around 4 years ago. Remember, I told you the story of that cat who had cancer. When I picked him up, no, I created my own page for adoptions because somebody said that would be much easier.
Yeah.
And I followed so many foundation pages and all, like so many animal rescue pages, and I started seeing what it was like, what the pigs, the goats, everyone, chickens go through for slaughter. So I was a person, okay? You won't believe it. I'll walk into a vegetarian restaurant, and if I find out it's vegetarian, I'll walk out. I was that hardcore non-vegetarian. When I rescued that cat and I dropped non-vegetarian overnight.
Yeah.
And still, I was pescatarian for 2 months. I was still eating fish.
Same.
My salmon and all, I loved it.
Yeah.
Then I said no. Somebody pokes you a little bit by mistake, a knife.
So much
Pokes it.
pain.
So much pain. I cry and I send a picture to my mom that, see, I got hurt. It's bleeding this much. Imagine you're putting a knife through somebody's. How much can you?
Yeah. I was also
Oh.
hardcore non-vegetarian. I would not have a meal without non-veg before. So yeah, you gain perspective when you start saving lives. And you,
And
on one hand, saving so many.
cleans your system out. I've become so much more positive, so much calmer. I used to kill insects. I used to not kill, I used to tell people to kill because I'm too scared. But now if I see a cockroach or a lizard, I will take the effort to put it in a box and release it out. I don't know if you've seen my videos. In the middle of the road, I'll see a snail and I'll spend like 20 minutes to put it on a leaf because you can't pick up a snail from the shell, it'll die.
Oh, wow.
So you have to go, put it, wait for it to come. So I take different leaves, whichever one I like. So I take it, put it on the mud on the side. So I became so spiritual. Now, I mean, and I feel like it's a lot of intentional karma as well.
Yeah.
So if I see there are ants walking also, I'll walk from the other side. I think that's my journey, and I think I've become so much more positive.
Are you inclined to meditation or any sort of practice along with it? Like yoga, you do a lot of yoga.
I was in the middle, I was doing a lot of guided meditation. I also visited Tushita, which is in Himachal.
Yeah.
And I was doing meditation there in the mountains. So I used to also do a lot of wellness oriented work at that point. So yeah, I was in the middle. As of now, I'm not into meditation that much. I have so much work.
I know.
Barely any time.
I do, however, find I don't know if it's I don't think it's superstition, but I think my energies are all over the place when I don't meditate for those 15 minutes every morning. I've sensed literally the difference in my reactions. I've seen the difference in the way people react to me also. Because when you walk into a room, you walk in with an aura. That aura could be good, bad, all depending on how much. Again,
Work on yourself.
yeah, and also if you break it down like a proper science, uh, if I'm in a room where I may overpower somebody in some capacity, I am getting some sort of evil eye. That's the nazar that we talk about.
I
It's not.
agree with you.
It's not always black magic. Somebody sitting with a doll and pinning it. It's just somebody is just wishing badly for
Does
me.
it make you sick overnight?
Yeah,
It does.
and suddenly you feel that how do I break this down? So the couple of times, somebody spoke to me about somebody I really hated. Like hate is a very strong word, right? But there are a couple of people in my life I could not, and this is up until last year. Yeah, and this is up until last year. Then I have let go of all those people. I've released myself from So basically, there was a time when somebody just brought up that name, and there was a fire inside me, and I was agitated, I was irritated, I was snappy for 2-3 days, and I couldn't sense why. Then my guru told me that this is because you still haven't let go of your past and those people who've hurt you, damaged you. Heal yourself. And here I want to break it down that forgiving somebody doesn't mean that I forgive you. It only means I'm telling my brain that I don't let this person take over my energies. And when you do that, when you cut those cords, then that nazar doesn't impact you.
Yeah, I think your aura needs to be so strong.
Yeah.
You're self-believing.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The nazar thing is so real because it affects me also.
Yeah.
Like I've fallen sick overnight. I mean, I can't tell you. Like once I was at this shoot for Tanishq jewelry, and on the way back home, I started posting my videos from the shoot and all. In half an hour, I don't know how I've fallen sick. I'm suddenly soaking my feet in hot water. I'm popping medicines. I'm doing steam.
Do you take saltwater baths?
Yeah, when I feel like I need to, actually, you can take it every day.
You should, yeah.
Yeah, but
The right way to do would be to apply salt all over your body and wait for 5 minutes and then wash it off. But if you don't do that deep, at least put a heavy amount of salt in your bucket. Or just go swim in the ocean because that's the pure saltwater water.
I can swim in a swimming pool with the heater on. I can't swim in the ocean.
So again, that brings me to a point where I want to ask you about your thoughts on karma and past lives. It's very random though, but I personally think that there is a concept of karma and this, rebirth.
There really is. I feel so too because I feel like maybe I've also done a lot. So sometimes I feel like, why does everything come in my eyesight and my vision, like a hurt animal or someone I want to save, birds, you know, of that sort?
You're meant to be in that place.
I'm meant to be. I've done something in my past that's putting me in that place again and again and again.
Oh,
Like over and over. There are few months, no, when I have no rescues.
yeah.
Suddenly,
And you know what? Surprising, I think you'll agree. When you see a case which you think is way beyond your expertise, God finds you the help that you need to cater.
yeah, like you.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so happy because when I called you, you were so welcoming and you were so helpful. I mean, in 1 second, you've helped me, with all my rescue cases.
Yeah.
And
I don't see the person who's calling, I see the case. And I sometimes I look at these feeders call me for a bruise and then like, sir, isko le lo, kuch karo iska. I said, dude, you have a responsibility. Just apply betadine and it'll be sorted. And then I see cases that you bring up, like CKDs, you can't leave them on the street. So I usually have a very clear definition to who I help and who I don't. If those who I don't help, I'm not saying we will not help. I'm just guiding them to do it themselves.
yeah, which is fair.
Yeah.
You can't take up everybody else's cases, though. I'll tell you one time, a friend of mine, I won't name her now, but 2 years ago, no, not 2 years, 1 year ago, you know that kitten Snow who's up for dog, yeah, since the past 8, 9 months, yeah. So she called me up and she's like, there's a kitten at CST station and very, very bad state. Can't see the face, fully covered in fleas and all that. And there's a big bruise on the head and everyone's stepping over him. I said, oh my God, at least take him to the vet. I'll guide you and all. I was going out of town. So she's like, no, I've put her on the side and given rotis.
Yeah.
And I've called PETA to pick her up. So PETA picked him up or whatever. Then she had an issue with PETA communicating. She said, since you do a lot of rescues, please help me out. I communicated with the PETA guy. I said, send me all the prescriptions and all. 2 days later, she said, I'm going to adopt. Tell me how to adopt. I've given her all the details, all the numbers. She said, I'll take him. After that, PETA is calling me over and over. Your friend is not responding. So I called her up. We waited for 5 days. After 5 days, she's saying, I'm not interested anymore.
Wow.
I said that, you could have, if you can't take up the responsibility,
Don't commit to it.
don't commit to it.
Yeah.
And this is somebody you've seen now. Just because she's not doing, I'm not going to leave. PETA's like, we'll have to leave the kitten back after the treatment. Yeah. I said, there is no way I'm letting you leave him back at CST. I took the whole case and I'm so happy I took it up. It's taken me 6 months, okay, of taking him to different vets over and over.
Yeah.
He had a lot of fever. He had tick, like
Yeah.
the tick fever. He had sepsis. Sepsis is deadly.
Yeah.
I did homeopathy. I did 10 things. 6 months later, he was fit and fine for adoption. And now, like,
Right.
he's up.
And it's what a great feeling, no, when you end up doing it, that you were able to see the whole journey through. But there are sometimes bad days also, right? Because you save 9, but you were not able to save that 1/10 one. How does it damage you?
It's the same pain all over. It's like it's like people say that time heals you, but for me, every time one of my rescues passes away, it's the same pain.
Yeah.
It never gets less. But I get stronger in the sense like, okay, I try to get over it in say 5 days instead of a month. My first cancer case, it took me 6 months. I was crying.
Yeah.
I was crying for 6 months. 8 months later, I'll cry the same way.
Do you think you also become detached or numb to certain amount of pain because you're doing it so frequently? Or is it just numbness, or is it moving on?
I think for me, it's because I have to keep concentrating on the rest of my rescues. So I have to make myself
Correct.
like numb for that. Because, okay, till the time they're alive, I'm doing everything under the sun.
Yeah.
I sent you, we even got the ashes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, after they have died, then there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
And then there are others who need me.
Yeah.
So,
I think you pointed out correctly, because the reason I asked you this question is because I sensed this sort of moving on attitude when I started working with Yoda. Before this, whenever I would rescue, I had a day job. I was very active in the entire Andheri to Borivali areas. Uh, Whenever I rescued, if I lost a case because we couldn't have done much, I would feel bad for days. But when I joined Yoda, you save 100 animals and you see one death. It disturbs you. I go back, I check everybody, what they did, whether we did our best or not. Even if my team did the best to save, I sometimes do become irrational also. Like, why did we not save?
Why did we not do that part?
Yeah, and then my team was like, let it go, Dheeraj, it's fine. Don't hold on to it. But now, over the years, I've realized I've started to move on much quicker. And I was questioning myself, is it good or bad? That's why I asked you this question. Because deep down, if I'm being devil's advocate, I think if I don't move on, I'm not going to do justice to the other 30, 40 that come up.
Exactly, yeah. So I think it's a good thing because even I used to do the same thing. I used to keep feeling guilty. Remember, I called you up that day. I was like, maybe I should have done this for Cookie. Maybe I should have
Yeah.
done that.
No, but you did a lot. I personally seen. Yeah, I think this also then brings me to a point that in future, do you want to see your presence, your influence being used for the growth of the animal, and how? Like, do you plan to start some sort of a campaign, or how do you plan to use your presence? So, for example, I started Detox. It was born for a thought that if I'm doing something at Yoda and 100 people are looking at it, if I start putting this conversation out in public,
Yeah.
maybe 2 people may join hands, 3 people may join hands. Do you have any sort of vision with how you want to take this forward?
So, firstly, I would really like to thank you for calling me here because this is like a start
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
inform everyone and make everyone aware. This is a perfect platform, actually.
Yeah.
And in the future, like, say, whatever field I'm most successful at, I'm going to make sure. Firstly, I want to open my own NGO, like a sanctuary where I'll be protecting all of them, not just dogs and cats, birds, chickens, horses, those donkeys, pigs. I want to take all of them. Like, I want to protect them from slaughter, goats. And secondly, it's like awareness. The more I grow, say my social media presence, I'm going to keep putting it out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we should also.
More power to you, more power to many of us like us. Um, Finally, final segment. I do this with my guests usually in the beginning. I started Detox with a thought that I'll be able to break down a success story. It was supposed to be a podcast where we are no longer pushing out narratives and brands. Now, for example, if I'm sure you know Joe Rogan, the US podcaster. So when you push out a narrative, when you have a podcaster like that, he starts from a space to just learn. I started from a space to just dissect. If you are sitting where you are, there are events that took shape in your life that made you what you are. Usually, I do this conversation in the beginning of a podcast to see what was your childhood like. Were there any instances that decided what you will do for life? Were there any particular moments in your life in the childhood that made you the person you are today?
So I think since the start, my parents have been extremely strict. For example, in college, and also my mom being a single mother after the age of 10. So she used to not even let me go for an overnight sleepover at a girl's house who she knows. Okay, who's my college friend, school friend, whatever. So I think in the sense, because of that, no, I see a lot of these people, maybe they are my friends, maybe they're acquaintances. They're really they get into a lot of drugs, they get into a lot of they can't control. But I feel so happy that my mom was that strict because today, like, I'm very controlled. I know exactly like when to leave a party. I think that's really helped me. And I think I'm very, very grateful that that was my childhood. So,
When you lost dad, were you? I'm sure you were disturbed, but were you um, doing? What was your thought process when this happened? Did it take time for you to heal?
I was so broken, but then I saw how my mom was, so I had to be strong to support her emotionally. Wow, at that point. And a lot of times she also did kind of put it, you know, the backlash was on me. It's not her fault because she was so emotional about it and she never remarried because she only loves him till today.
Yeah, this is
So,
so sweet. So what's your belief? I mean, in today's age, everything is a Bumble, Hinge, and all of this. I'm very old school. I'm believing into that Shah Rukh Khan kind of love, but I don't think that happens anymore.
I think I'm born in the wrong era because I believe in that total Bollywood,
Yeah,
or you can say Hollywood dramatic,
yeah.
where the guy gets down on one knee, make those efforts.
If only kind of love.
Yeah,
Have you watched that movie? If only.
I haven't seen that.
It's amazing. Yeah,
But there are a lot of movies which I resonate with. And I'm also very old school, very old fashioned. I might not look it, but I am.
yeah.
And I don't believe in that.
No, you have that energy. Deep down, I know you like that typical Desi girl who needs pure love. It doesn't need any sort of distraction.
But I think that this is not the day and age for it.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone's like just so.
They're talking about nanoships and situationships and what part. I even know.
What is even a
Yeah. Like I used to call it one night stand back in our day. I think they've just replaced the terms. But great, I think it was lovely to have you, Kush. I'm so happy we did this. I'm going to call you again because there is a lot to still talk. Yeah. Yeah. Any last thoughts, anything you want to add?
I think, yeah, but thank you so much for having me. And I think you're doing so great doing this. And I would love to come back. But the animal bit is something that today I spoke to my friends also that I'm coming here to speak about this. Since a few months, I've been wanting to put it out on a social platform about animals. I also want to talk a lot about being a vegetarian and protecting those animals.
Yeah.
So maybe, yeah, next time I call you, we'll
Yeah.
dive deep into
We'll get into that subject. Also the veganism and the fight that's going on. Are you into that veganism argument?
So I'm not vegan
Yeah.
as of yet, but I try to. Like, I have my coffee and almond milk, but also I do have cheese. So I'm not completely
Same.
vegan, but I'm vegetarian, and hopefully someday I'll be vegan
Yeah.
because
Because I don't have an opposing argument. Like I am fully aligned to what they are asking. It's just that we just have to look at solutions being more realistic. How do you stop the entire nation to not do it?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think like you should just ban non-vegetarian. I'm sorry if
Yeah.
people are hating me for this, but
No, but that's true. We say we are cow lovers and Gauraksha and all of this, and then we are second largest meat exporters in the world.
yeah, tell me one thing. Isn't it the most basic humanity to like not kill another living being just because they can't speak for themselves and they don't have laws? First of all, I think there should be laws implemented, much stronger, stricter laws.
Laws is something that comes up on every podcast. Everybody comes and says, do the laws, do the laws. And yeah, we
It's
strongly.
very essential because see, even humans don't care about humans nowadays. I mean, what are they going to care about animals without any
Exactly.
laws?
So if you are allowing an animal to be hit on road, you are encouraging that thought process to be carried out on a human being.
Yeah, that's psychopathic
Yeah.
behavior. Yeah.
So recently there was one case where a man was slapping a kid in lift.
Oh my.
There was a fat man in a lift going down the staircase, and a kid enters. It was evident that they are not related, but the kid did something in the lift, and the guy started slapping him hard. It was a 10-year-old kid maybe, and he was just getting beaten up. So
Terrible.
yeah, same guy is hitting. He is getting away by hitting dogs, and these people want to just exert their power on people who can't do much.
You know that dog Jay? There was a case of that dog Jay
Yeah.
for whom the candlelight, candle marches and all. Yeah, that guy just went with a rod and
I know.
how can
Yeah.
you be
The Renewal case.
Sanhal case? I don't know. But I'm just saying, how can you be safe around such people?
True, and that's the fight. That's why John is actively involved. Everybody's talking about it.
And that's so amazing that he's doing this. Like he's using his power for the right.
Yeah.
He's not getting anything out of it. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. This whole stop the pigeon feeding and all.
Yeah.
It's useless because stop the hookah, stop the cigarettes, stop the so many cars are causing pollution.
Yeah.
Why are you not caring about that? So many rape cases are happening, and here you're stopping poor pigeons from eating.
Yeah.
Everything is causing pollution.
Speaks volume. It goes down in the history, and speaks volume about how we are building societies in the long run. So that's really toxic.
Right?
But I'm amazed how John comes up in every episode. So use portion of all John related conversations, make a reel out of it.
Have
Because every
him in Vatla House.
yeah, told me. So Priya and John are connected. I spoke to John a couple of times. Super humble guy,
Very nice.
so down to earth, and
Very good.
I'm just a fan.
Has his values in his right
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. If I get a penny for every time I say I'm John's fan, I'll be a billionaire.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. Good. Nice to have you, Kush. It was an amazing conversation. I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad you made it this far, and thank you for watching this episode. Looking forward for your support for all my future episodes. So please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.